When you clearly don't work somewhere, but people seem to think you do. Welcome to this episode of I Don't Work Here, Lady. Our first one is from Swifty Dog. Growing up, my family's phone number was 555-5070. There was a local radio station whose request line was 555-5700. We would get calls at odd hours of the night from people trying to request a song. This was in the early 1980s, so answering machines weren't widespread. It was annoying to say the least. We assumed they were just reading the phone number out wrong on the air. Turns out, they weren't quite reading it incorrectly. Call us at 555-5700 was interpreted by some of their listeners literally as 555-5700. The last zero wouldn't register, so it would ring our house. So my father very kindly called the manager of the radio station and asked that they simply change the way they read the request line phone number on the air. Unsurprisingly, the manager wasn't receptive to that idea. "We're a radio station, we don't have to change anything," was basically the response. So the next time someone called, my father very excitedly told them that they were caller 10 and they had won a brand new car. All they had to do was come down to the station and mention they won it on the request line. He also told them that if anyone gave him any trouble, just ask for the station manager. He'd be able to sort things out. As I recall, my father gave away 2 cars, and we never had a wrong number for this radio station again. I almost feel like there's some petty revenge involved in this. I mean, honestly though, if the radio station didn't want to work with you guys, then why would you have to do anything to accommodate them? Beautifully done. This next one is by JSAT3474. I stopped at an out-of-town greenhouse today. I'm pretty rural and I like this greenhouse because it's not well known, meaning it's not picked over early in the season. The 2 ladies that run it, my impression is they're sisters, retired long ago. They are hilarious to listen to. "Rosie, why did you put that tray there? It has to go on the truck." "Well, Lissy, I already put a different tray out there. Why aren't you watering?" I was only getting a few plants that I hadn't started myself, but of course, I have to walk around and dream about where I'd put all these plants if only I had the space. Elderly gent comes in. We passed each other a few times. Then he suddenly starts asking me questions. It seems his wife sent him on a greenhouse errand. He doesn't know what X looks like, where is Y, and how many come in a flat. Having been here before and knowing a smidge about gardening, I was gonna help him anyways, but then he stage whispers, "I don't think you work here, but I know better than to get in between those two." I don't know if he personally knew these sweet, albeit bickering proprietors, or if he just knew on site not to interject, but that was the funniest thing I've ever seen. He must have been in the past with his wife and seen what happens when somebody interrupts those two. I don't know. This next one is from Red Knight 1978. So a few months ago, I got back into law enforcement, where I'm now part of a specialized tactical unit. Most of the time, we're not in standard uniform. Instead, we often are in slacks, blue polos, and black tactical vests with the initials for our department on the front. See where this is going? I probably also should mention that I'm also wearing a fairly noticeable belt with my sidearm, radio, cuffs, and all the normal cop stuff. So this morning, I'm in the local location for a big box store with a very similar uniform. I'd been in the Lego aisle, which at this location backs up to the electronics section so that it's Lego on one side and video games in a glass display case with cheap locks that are easy to pick on the other. So I'm standing there, considering getting something for a friend in another state whom I may be seeing next month, when a young woman walks up to me and asks if I work here. I point to the lettering on the front of my vest and politely tell her no. She apologizes and thanks me as I walk down the aisle a bit. I finally decide not to get anything from my friend and turn to head out when I notice she's in the process of picking the lock on the display case, which pops off before I can even ask what she's doing. At this point, she sees me and waves before grabbing a handful of $100 games out of the case and shoving them under her shirt and starts heading for the front of the store. I decide to leave my cart and follow her. Lo and behold, she walks right past the registers and through the security scanners, which light up and start wailing. She starts walking faster, heading towards her car. I catch up to her just as she's trying to open it. I detain her and read her rights while the store manager and theft prevention officer catch up. We head back into the store where I radio for a patrol car while the manager takes care of pulling video and getting the paperwork in order. The whole time this lady is just sitting there and quiet, so I ask her what the heck was going through her head. Her reasoning was, "I didn't think you could arrest me while you're shopping." No violence, screaming, or assaults like the last time I posted, but certainly one of my odder experiences. Does she honestly not believe even in a citizen's arrest? I mean, technically a Good Samaritan could detain her and hold her until police arrived as well, so the fact that she's saying she didn't think she could be arrested, she knew what she was doing. She was committing a crime and got what she had coming. Good work. This next one is by MattTech88. This happened while I was moving into an apartment 2 days ago. My girlfriend and I were moving boxes up in the elevator. I grew impatient with the speed at which the door was closing, so I spammed the close button. That's when the call answered light came on. Well, fuck. Spamming that button must have somehow triggered the fire department call system. We began panicking. That's when someone started speaking to us through the elevator. I laid on the profuse apologies for summoning her, but the person whose voice was coming out of a speaker near the floor had a different message for me. She was looking to rent an apartment from a different complex. I was very confused. Apparently, she had mistakenly called the elevator somehow. I had no idea that was possible. I tried telling her that she was talking to a random person in an elevator, but she wouldn't listen. She wanted to speak to the manager, so I just left the elevator. To be fair, I also did not know that elevators could receive calls if someone misdialed a number and just happened to have that number. Outside of that though, the fact that she wouldn't listen to you, I would have done the same thing. I would have just hung up and walked out. And our final one is from Unitier. I recently got reminded of this one. I was a 13 to 14-year-old female who tried to buy new jeans because her last ones got accidentally ripped apart by an overjoyed puppy. Broke me got in this jeans store with a big 50% off sign and started to look around. The store was very confusing. Not big, but a tiny labyrinth, and I couldn't for the love of me figure out where the women's section should be. So socially awkward me decided to put on her big girl pants and ask somebody. I go to the counter and before I can say a thing, the guy behind the counter was already furious with me.
"Where have you been? We've been waiting for you for hours now. Why don't you answer your phone?"
Followed by my very intelligent reply, "What?" Well, I stood there dumbfounded and scared. I was a small girl and that guy was tall and spoke too loud for comfort. He goes on with,
"We're going to Mr. Boss. No excuses. Come with me now."
Little dumb, scared me followed that guy mostly because my brain refuses to process what just happened. This was long before I knew of the existence of Reddit. We go to a hidden part of the store, hidden by a wall, and I saw the woman's section. My brain, remembering what I was there for, told my feet to go that way, but forgot about the guy. The guy grabs me by my arm and forces me in a different direction. We reach a little office, and by little, I mean cramped small. A desk, a lot of papers, and orders everywhere. A man sitting on an office chair, papers in hand, the guy and me. The guy closes the door and none of us had any space to move. The guy greets the man as Mr. Boss and said,
"I found her. She was just wandering in."
Mr. Boss, now looking at me, gives me a speech about responsibility and being on time. The best my brain could come up with in this situation was the question if this store has other times for customers allowed to be coming in. Did I miss the time frame? While Mr. Boss was busy with his speech, the wheels in my brain began to turn. Does he think I work here? But a boss should know his own employees, shouldn't he? I tried to muster enough courage to speak, but came out only shy. I don't work here. Mr. Boss looks at me, then pulled out an application letter. Are you not this person? Me shaking my head. He's looking at the picture and my face over and over again. That's not her. I looked at the picture. A girl my age, same hair and eye color, but different face features. He mumbled something about today should be her first day at work, but she never showed up, apologized and asked me why I haven't said anything, and dismissing me instantly. The counter guy brought me to the front and outside the store. Basically, I was politely kicked out. Dumbfounded again. I agree with you 100%. If you're a boss and you're hiring people and you actually have seen them, met them, then you should know who's an employee for you and who's not. The fact that you ended up being escorted out of the store just shows that both of these people do not belong in any form of retail. Alright, that's enough stories for the day. Well, that wraps up this episode of I Don't Work Here Lady. If you liked the video, please drop a like, share my content on all of your social media, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to hit that bell so you're notified every time I upload, and drop a comment down below. It really helps with the algorithm and helps new people find my channel. Thanks for watching, thanks to my patrons, have a great day and stay safe out there.